Hi and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing homework 41. This is part 1. This part is 30%. So this is just following the videos that we were given in making a game. As you can see, we don't use main activity at all. We use this class that we created called Game View. And then of course we have just our game view. And what I have done is I do build and I build it first, and that just executes it here. So say I change the grid, it would execute it here. After I do build, I press run and I run it on the phone. When it runs, it's going to tell me if there's any errors, and as you can tell, there's no errors. I'm going to click on the phone and then I'm going to show you. So this is the game. Just a little maze. And when you hit that exit block, it gives you a new maze. And so every time you hit that exit block, it's going to generate a different maze, a new maze, a random maze. Okay. Now I'm going to make a white maze and change the dimensions. And then it generates a new maze. That's my avatar. And change the dimensions once again. And make a gray maze. And my avatar, new game. And now we're gonna go for a green maze. Just getting a yellow maze. Change the dimensions again. And now I have a yellow maze. Thank you very much. So the first things first is I took the basic of what I had already, which is that game view. The first thing I added was an image button, but you can just add a normal button. That's this one right here. So I'm just gonna walk you through that. Then I have a spinner. That's this one up here that lets you choose the color. And I have an edit text. So the image button, if you open the palette, buttons, image button, you can drag and drop it. The spinner, if you go to container, you can drag and drop it. You cannot drag and drop the edit text, you have to type those out. So you would type edit text, Android ID, and then you can just write layout width, and it should pop up and you can hit enter, and then layout height. Once you do that, you can move your edit text to where you want it. Edit text gives you the ability to input the numbers like 20 and 10, 5, 15, 7, 9. That is what we're going to use to change the maze. So you need to obviously input X and then input Y. And then I have a text view, which is I dragged and dropped it. And if I'll show you what the text view is. So the text view is this little one right here, and that just gives me an X so the user understands that it's a 10 by 12 and all that. And what I did is for the game view is I made the constraints at the top and the bottom 50. So they used to be 0. But because I wanted to put the spinner and the buttons down, I made the constraints 50. And so I gave me that space up there. Also, if you put your show layout decorations, you're going to be able to see how it looks like with these little added things at the top. Okay. Closing. Tengo que hacer record algo. ¿Pueden no hablar, por favor? Gracias. Don't patronize me. Okay, I have main activity, game view strings. Okay, this strings, you open, cancel. You go to app and you open values, and that's where you're gonna find this. This is how I made my spinner. So this is already here. You have to you add string array name colors, and then you do this. Yellow, green, blue, and that's how I made all the colors for my spinners. And you'll understand how I use that in a little bit. Okay, this is a spinner, don't forget. Main activity. So you have game view. The first thing you want to do, sorry, I'm a neat freak. The first thing I did was create this private static int background and set it to green. And then in onDraw background, instead of putting a color here, I put background. And then all the way at the bottom, I put public static void set background, game view background. Okay, and that lets the user set the background. You'll see how we access that. Also, if you can't tell, I made some of these statics so that we can access them and alter them. Private bitmap face is how you create the photo, your face photo, which you, what I did is I just cropped a photo into a square, and then I screenshotted the square, and then I just pulled it and put it into Drawable. I had to put it into Drawable twice because it wouldn't let me access it. First create this, then you have to initialize it. So under here you have to initialize your face, which I just named it face, and then bitmap factory decode resource drawable face. This sets the width and height, so the size basically. After that, I haven't changed anything other than making some of these static, which the first thing it'll ask you to make static is this create maze, and you'll see why at the bottom. So I have this refresh maze and then this set maze size, and I did both of these so that I could, well, refresh the maze without having to open a new activity, and then set the maze size. And we access this in main activity, which I'll take you to next. But other than that, nothing else has changed from what we wrote, but I'll go through it just in case you need to check anything. But this is all from the videos. Okay, main activity. So in main activity, I have the first thing I did was this is extra. You don't have to do this button, that's the first thing I did. And that just gives me a little message right here. It's a little toast. So every time I click the button, it shows up with the little thing that says maze changed. So it's letting the user know that the maze has changed. Image iButton. If you don't use an image button, if you use a normal button, you don't need image. Just press button. And then when you access it here, it needs to be just button, not image button. I made that mistake, but like backwards. Spinner, color wheel, that's the spinner I told you about. Text edit, input X, input Y, and then private static. Okay, input X, and then I'm setting it equal to activity main. You know how to do that. Same thing, find by ID. Color wheel, also setting it equal to activity main, so it's calling it. Button, image button, on click listener. I have my string input color wheel get selected item, and then set background, my goodness, input, set maze size, game view refresh maze. That's what's going to change your maze, that little game view refresh maze that we made. And then this is not something you guys need to use, but that just gives me a little message that says maze changed. Background. Okay, so in the strings, I made the names, capital names. In here, you need to make a switch case for set background is what I called it. Green, game view set background green, yellow, blue, whatever colors you want to use. I put gray, but I just made it light gray. And then maze size, set X to the input that you get when the user inputs, and if it's 0 or 1, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't work, so it automatically sets it to 10 and 12. So that's all. And yes, now let's build it. You always want to build it. You don't always want to build it, you can do whatever you want, but I always build it because I struggle to get it correct. And then run it. So this is part 2. I have a spinner up there, and that's what changes the color. Here I can change the dimensions I want. And once I do that, I click that button, and then I make sure to tap on the dimensions, and I get my new maze. Here I can just move my little character. We